I will not let this republic be split in two. My negotiations will not fail.
If they do, there aren't enough Jedi to protect the Republic. We're keepers of the peace, not soldiers.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 39 of the DNA Film Wars podcast. Today is our second episode of our Star Wars Look Back series, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Directed by George Lucas. Written by George Lucas.
And another guy helped co-write the screenplay, I think.
I think something like that. And, of course, as always, starring Hayden Christensen. Well, not always. This is the first one we've done with Hayden Christensen. Natalie Portman.
Ewan McGregor.
And
Ian McDermott,
Samuel Jackson, Frank Oz, Anthony Daniels, Kenny Baker, some other people. So, I guess...
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee. I forgot.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about Christopher
Ahmed
Lee.
Best is
Jar Jar.
Jar.
Very, very briefly.
Oof.
But anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Or did we do initial thoughts
Oof.
on the last one?
I don't know. But,
I think we did.
Oof.
So initial rethoughts.
Oof.
This movie drags. I've forgotten. Like, I watch this movie like once a year, and I've forgotten how bad it drags. Especially like,
you know, for the first at least
Hour and
solid
a half.
hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, pretty much nothing happens.
nothing. Very little exciting at least happens.
And then after that, we finally get into a little bit of something.
Once we get to Geonosis, it moves
Just a little
along
bit,
all right, but man, it takes a long time to get there. But anyway, I guess we'll just jump right into the plot. So we start with the opening scroll as always, and from this opening scroll, we see immediately that this movie still got some political mumbo jumbo going to be going on. So basically, the several thousand star systems have withdrawn from the Republic, so the Republic is splitting apart, and basically, it's like as the movie goes into it, they're trying to prevent the Republic from being split apart, and that's one of the things I don't like about this movie is there's still like some political mumbo jumbo that's not well defined, because I don't really understand from like just the political standpoint of this. These star systems are wanting to leave the Republic. Why? War is imminent. Like, why don't they just let them leave the Republic? I mean, I know it's like not good, but so be it, right? I mean, is it like a Civil War thing where like you're going to be part of the Republic whether you like it or not? I mean, I didn't really understand, and I know that the separatist movement is made up of a lot of people that aren't good, but I didn't really understand why the Republic was basically like, you're going to be, like, even the Chancellor says, I'm not going to let the Republic be split in two. Like, I didn't understand really why it was so important for the...
Maybe because, like you said, those planets or those star systems contain more bad people than good people, and they're afraid that if they're not a part of the Republic and have no checks and balances on them, they'll just go off and become even worse.
Maybe. Anyway, basically, that's the underlying evil plot of this movie is the Republic is breaking apart. And so our opening shot, we pan down as always. And in their scroll it is said that they are voting on an act to create the Grand Army of the Republic to basically, if they have to, fight a war against the Separatists. So we pan down as always, and there is a diplomatic, what's it called? Anyway, a ship from Naboo. Carrying who we think is Senator Amidala, and they land on the platform on Coruscant, and it explodes, but it was just a decoy on the main ship. Amidala was actually flying one of the starfighters.
She's cool like that.
R2 is with her, because R2 has to be in this movie somehow, so that's how we get him in. I'll go ahead and say one of the things I wrote down that I liked about this movie, the design of Coruscant. I really like how, I mean, I know we saw a little bit of it in Phantom Menace, but we see a lot more of it here, the way like the ships are just like lines of traffic going in every which direction. Yep. Like some of the stuff you see in the background is kind of cool. Like I noticed, I think for the first time in the background, like a little droid like putting a window in one of the high rises, and I think Coruscant, like some of the CGI, I also put on this like stuff that I thought was kind of meh. CGI is kind of meh in this movie. It doesn't hold up that much, but there is so much of it. Like 90% of this movie is CGI.
Maybe even 95.
I mean,
I think there's two practical sets in this entire film, and one of them is filmed in Italy, and
Yeah.
it's one of the worst scenes in Star Wars history.
The
Not the
Naboo,
worst.
the Naboo stuff is filmed in Italy. I think some of the stuff on Tatooine and Geonosis was filmed in Tunisia, like where they always go to film the desert stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of practical filming locations.
For the most part,
but everything
CGI.
on Coruscant is in a green room. I mean everything. Like
everything.
everything.
People, everything.
But it's whatever for me. Like I don't necessarily.
It doesn't
care
bother
for
me,
it.
but sometimes the CGI does stand out as like, that's
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah. But anyway, so we had the ship explodes. So Anakin and Obi-Wan are assigned as a protection detail for Amidala, who is no longer Queen of Naboo. It's important to note that she is now Senator Amidala, not Queen Amidala. She's going to vote against creating an army for the Republic because she thinks that it'll just make the situation worse or whatever. So then we have this scene where Anakin and Padme set a trap for her assassin, and she lays in her bedroom all helpless. And they send this little robot thing that dropped 2 poisonous slugs into her room.
All throughout, there's awful dialogue between Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan and Hayden Christensen as Anakin. It's terrible.
And Natalie Portman.
It's terrible.
I'll go ahead and say that the dialogue in this movie is the worst it gets.
It's very poor. This is the worst written.
It is
script.
atrocious.
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 It is the worst written dialogue I've ever seen in a Star Wars movie.
Hayden Christensen. Let's go ahead and talk about Hayden.
He does not
Christensen.
help anything.
Hayden Christensen is terrible. I mean, I understand that the script he was handed is terrible, but his performance is.
At least Ewan McGregor was good.
Ewan McGregor's still good. I mean, even he struggles with some of this dialogue, but he is able to pull off most of this.
He
movie
tries.
right.
He's like, man, George, this script is god awful, but I'll give it my best.
I'll give it my best. Natalie Portman is garbage too. Oh, man, she's terrible. Well, when we get to the Naboo stuff,
God,
man, this movie
worst dialogue in
Lord
history.
have mercy. I can't even. But anyway, so they set this trap. But Anakin comes in and cuts the slugs in two. And Obi-Wan jumps out the window and grabs
Literally just jumps out the window.
Grabs onto this robot.
What happens if he misses? He's dead.
He's just dead, I guess. But he's Obi-Wan. He doesn't miss. But anyway, grabs on and he does like the bounty hunter that's trying to kill her. Does shoot the little droid that he's on, and he falls. But Anakin got this little ship and
little
catches
speed
him.
pod or whatever.
Yeah. And so then we have this very prolonged...
Long. It goes on for what, like 10 minutes?
At least. Them chasing this changeling bounty hunter through the traffic of Coruscant. And I put in my notes that I thought this went on too long.
It really does. It's forever.
Because, yeah, they chase her for a while, and then...
and then she crashes.
Well, then Anakin jumps out of his speeder and lands on her speeder.
And then it crashes.
And then Obi-Wan and Anakin meet up again, and she runs into this sports bar thing where in one of the background TVs, like if you look closely, they literally have robots just playing American football. I was like, okay. And
they could come up with some cool sport for.
Obi-Wan was like, "You look forward. I'm gonna go get a drink."
Yeah.
And of course, one of the most famous scenes where the guy comes up to him and is like, "You want to buy some death sticks? You don't want to sell me death sticks. I don't want to sell you death sticks. You want to go home and rethink your life. I want to go home and rethink my life." And I do like that scene. But anyway, as Anakin's looking for her, she's actually sneaking up behind Obi-Wan, but he senses
Obi-Wan,
her.
of course, has the Force. So
he turns around, cuts her gun in half, and they take her outside, and before she can tell him anything, she gets shot with a poison dart.
By Jango Fett.
She does say a name, and I've read this before what it meant. I think it's like another name for Jango Fett or something. I'm not really sure. But anyway, through this information, really this is where the main plot starts. Our two main characters, Ewan McGregor and Anakin, as Obi-Wan and Anakin, split two, and there's a plot following each one of them. Anakin has the love story plot with him and Natalie Portman.
He's on protection. He's on protection detail.
Yeah, and he takes her.
Old Obi-Wan. He takes a detective story.
Yeah, and Obi-Wan has a detective story. Both plots are very bad and boring.
Are terrible.
Anakin's is worse just because oh my god.
Because the
dialogue
makes it terrible.
Terrible. But anyway, so let's so Anakin, they decide that it's too dangerous for Senator Amidala on Coruscant, so the Jedi Council has Anakin take her back to Naboo.
Big mistake.
So they go off back to Naboo, and Obi-Wan goes on this search for the origin of this poison dart and to try to find out the plot of all this. So,
which plot line do we start with first?
Which plot line do we start with? Let's just do the...
let's just do one plot line, and then we can go back to that point and then do the other plot
until
line.
they converge again. So let's do the love story, because this is trash. This is trash.
It's atrocious.
So they go on public transport back to Naboo. While on this transport, we have this scene in like the cafeteria area where he's like telling her about like, or I can't be with the people I love or whatever, and she's like, aren't Jedi forbidden to love? And he's like,
well, Jedi are told to have compassion. The way I see it, compassion is like a unconditional love. So really, if you think about it, we're encouraged to love. I was God.
He's such a stalker in this movie. He's a straight up stalker.
There's like in this, I think in this same scene, if not just a tad bit before, he's looking at Senator Amidala, right? And he's just sitting here, all right? And he's like looking at her like really weird and like longingly, but also stalkerish. Mm-hmm. And she goes, "Please don't look at me that way. It makes me uncomfortable." Mm-hmm. We go from that to like lovey-dovey in like 2.2 seconds.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's so bad.
Once they get to Naboo, so this is actually, from a cinematography standpoint, it looks the best in the movie because it's actual filming.
Yeah, we get the scene where she goes and meets with the now queen of Naboo. And we have this whole scene, and as they're leaving, she says something about Anakin being a Jedi Master, and Padme just completely undermines him. It's like, oh, he's not a master. He's a Padawan learner. I was like, oof, that's rough.
Yeah, I will say that everyone is demeaning to Anakin in this movie. Padme is demeaning to Anakin. Obi-Wan calls him Padawan over and over, has to remind him over and over that he's a Padawan. He's demeaning to Anakin.
Like, he knows.
Everyone is demeaning to Anakin, so I can almost understand why he's so pissy this whole movie. But anyway, so they go to the countryside, and we have the scene.
The scene.
With the line, I hate, what does he say?
He's like, I hate sand.
It's so coarse and rough and irritating.
It gets everywhere.
Oh my god.
The worst line in Star Wars history, probably.
Something like, not like your skin. It's
not
so
like your skin. It's so
soft. And he starts
caressing her. I'm like, oof.
I was like, baby.
And then she looks up at him and she's like,
you're so hot.
And then they kiss.
And then then we have the scene, I think.
Yeah, we flash forward to the scene in the grass.
Yeah, because this is all intercut with Obi-Wan's plot, but we cut forward to the scene. Do we have the scene in the grass next where there's space cows?
Space cows.
Naboo cows.
So they're having a little picnic and they're flirting, and then he decides to ride a space cow and it gets bucked off and
it runs over
him and he pretends like he's hurt, and then she comes over like, Anakin, no! And he gets up, but then
he's laughing.
And then he drags her down and they roll around in the grass like a bunch of weirdos.
We have the scene, I can't remember if this was before or after that, with the pear where he
the pear scene's after that one.
Cuts up the pear and
uses the Force, and he takes the pear from her plate and cuts it up. And Obi-Wan would kill me if he saw me doing this. Cuts it up and just feeds it to her.
But the worst scene in this entire movie is the scene in front of the fireplace.
Oh, God.
I don't know if he's, bearing his soul to her or reading off bad poetry. That's how bad this dialogue is right here.
Oh, it's so bad. In the middle of the scene, I'm like, man, he really knows how to charm a girl.
Yeah, and I don't know if she's trying to discourage him or encourage him, because from her outfit, I'd say she's trying to encourage it.
But from some of the actions that she has at the beginning of the conversation,
she's like, no, we can't do this. No, we can't do this.
But then afterwards, she's like, yes.
Well, not during this scene. This whole scene, she's like, I don't know if she has a realization. She's like, we can't do this. They won't let you serve as Jedi, and I won't be able to be senator anymore, and da-da-da. And he's like, we can keep it a secret. And then she's like,
do you really want to live a life like that, Anakin?
We can't live a lie, and da-da-da. And he's like, I guess you're right.
He goes through this whole spiel about how being with her torments him or something.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
Oh, he's
I was like,
terrible.
what are you saying? I'm like, being with her torments you. I'm like, that's terrible. I'm like, are you trying to like make her love you or not?
Yeah, and then then he has another bad dream about his mom. So then he decides that he has
He's
to
like,
go.
I have to go to Tatooine.
And she's like, I'll go with you.
And he's like, no. But she's like, I'm going.
So let's backtrack now to Obi-Wan's plot, which is not much better.
All right, so we start off.
So-
He goes and meets his little friend at the diner.
He goes
asking
to
about the
Dex's
star.
Diner. I actually like Dex's Diner. It's like an old classic diner, but with this robot running around. Do you want some Java juice? And Dex, I mean, I actually like the diner, like the concept of just this diner on Coruscant. It's kind of neat.
Anyway, his friend seems to know everything.
Yeah, Dex, you get the impression he's just been around for a long time and done pretty much everything. So he goes and he asks him about this dart because the droids in the archives or whatever couldn't identify the dart, the poison dart. He's like, oh yeah, it's from Camino where they're cloners over there.
And Obi-Wan's like, huh?
He's like, well, are they friendly? He's like, well, that depends on how big your pocketbook is.
So he goes back to the archives and looks for Camino. He finds out that it's missing.
Yeah, this
the
librarian moment is super weird. She's like, if it's not in our archives, it doesn't exist. I'm like, you don't talk to Obi-Wan like that.
So Obi-Wan goes and talks to Yoda, and Yoda is in a class training some young
I like
Padawan.
the scene.
And okay, so he goes, Yoda tells Obi-Wan, or tells the little children lower the shades, and then Obi-Wan has like this map of I guess this star system or
the
whatever,
galaxy or whatever.
and so he puts this little thing on there, and Yoda says something to the effect of Master Obi-Wan seems to have lost a planet or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Obi-Wan goes on this whole detail explaining about how all these stars still have this gravitational pull toward this one area, but there's nothing there. It's like doesn't show up. And then Yoda's like, well, kids, why might that be? And they're like, and one kid just chimes in, because it was removed from the archives. And Yoda's like, how great the mind of a child is, or something like that.
I like this scene because I think it's literally like the only scene in the prequel trilogy where Yoda is lighthearted. Like the rest of the time, he's like dour, serious, and like saying all these like super like can't form attachments, but anger leads to hate, hate leads to anger. Anger leads to suffering.
Suffering leads to pain. Pain leads to anger. Anger leads to hate.
It's anger leads to hate. No, hate leads. No. No. It's fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. But anyway, he's always saying like these dour things. But like here, he's kind of lighthearted, and I like the scene that was showing him, actually like training the kids and training with the kids, and being like really kind to the kids and everything. And he's actually kind of funny, but then he has, of course, a serious conversation with everyone. He's like, only a Jedi could have deleted those files, but who and why? But anyway, so then Obi-Wan goes off to Camino. Mm-hmm. And I actually like the design of the world Camino. It's like this constantly stormy water planet where they've built these structures out of the water. And the Caminoan aliens, even though the CGI is kind of rough, they're kind of cool. They're like these really tall blue creatures. And they have like these seats that come down out of the ceiling. I mean, I think the design of the Camino world is pretty decent.
But we find out on this planet Camino that they're making a bunch of clones based on Jango Fett, and that Master Sifo-Dyas apparently Sifo-Dyas. That's what I said. I thought, but
Sifo-Dyas, I think.
Sifo-Dyas has ordered this creation of this clone army, but according to Obi-Wan, Sifo-Dyas has been dead for 10 years, which is about when this. A little bit before he's been dead a little bit before this clone army was supposedly ordered.
Yeah,
so we're led to believe that someone else might have ordered.
Part of my problem with this film here is that like it mentions the Sifo-Dyas character and like doesn't explain like
who is that?
Yeah, they do finally explain it in one of the episodes of the Clone Wars like years later, but and it turns out like if you want to know like a quick summary, like I don't remember the exact details, but Dooku and Sifo-Dyas like went on this mission and like. I guess that's when Dooku defected, like officially. He like killed Sifo-Dyas and left him on this planet, and then Dooku ordered these clones or whatever. But anyway, so we go and we meet Jango Fett. Do we meet we see he overlooks and sees all these clones being made, and then he goes.
He's like, I'd love to meet the model or whatever.
And so we go and meet Jango Fett. And I like Jango. I'll say I like Jango Fett in this movie. A lot of people complain about Jango Fett in this movie, but he doesn't bother me.
And then we also get to see little Boba.
And Boba doesn't bother me. He actually looks like the actor.
They did a good job
He
casting that
looks
kid.
like the actor playing Django. So I mean, all that I'm fine with. But then Obi-Wan, so he contacts Yoda and Samuel L. Jackson as Windu.
Tells him this whole like plot about.
Yeah, and they tell him just bring back Jango Fett. So I guess the Republic
just bring him back.
They don't have big rules on search warrants and stuff. But I'll go ahead and say though, I like Yoda. I mean, even though his CGI is kind of I like Yoda and Samuel L. Jackson as Windu in this movie.
I like Yoda in this one better than the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, Yoda doesn't do anything in the Phantom Menace really, but I like him.
Windu, but
Neither does Windu, but I like both of them in this movie. They're fine. But so Obi-Wan goes and he they had this pretty decent fight, I think, where Obi-Wan tries to apprehend Jango, but Jango and Boba are leaving.
Fighting him off.
So they have this fight where Jango's shooting at Obi-Wan, he's deflecting the bullets, and then they
tussle, and then Jango shoots and drags him along, and then he ends up flinging him over the side of this little platform that they're on, and ends up cutting him loose. But obviously Obi-Wan uses the Force to try to find his way back up there, and by the time he gets back up to the platform where they're leaving, they're leaving.
But he throws a tractor on the ship.
He throws a tractor onto their ship.
So then, after some intercut scenes with Anakin and Padme, we go to he follows them to Geonosis, and then we have this prolonged shootout in this
space chase thing.
Geonosis the rings of Geonosis, kind of reminiscent of the asteroid scene in Empire Strikes Back, just way less good. I don't really care one way or the other for it. It's just mostly like Obi-Wan running from Jango while Jango shoots at him. And they shoot these pretty cool, though, charges that, blow up, but there's not, any sound until, after they explode or whatever. I don't remember what they're called, but they're pretty neat. But anyway, but then Obi-Wan hides, on the other
back
side
of this asteroid.
Yeah, and they think they blew him up. So then they go down there. And they get down there, and we see this is well over an hour into the movie. This is an hour 15 into the movie. We Obi-Wan sneaks into this Geonosian temple and sees Count Dooku, played by Christopher Lee, who I love Christopher Lee. May he rest in peace. Meeting with the leaders of the Trade Federation, the Banking Clan, and the Techno Union.
We see Viceroy Gunray again.
Yeah, Viceroy Gunray. Well, there's a line earlier. He's where one of the people in the Queen's palace is it's a shame that after 4 trials in the Supreme Court, Viceroy Gunray's still the
Viceroy of the
Trade Federation.
I don't know where they came up with the term Viceroy, but
yeah, it's all right.
It doesn't bother me. I'm just wondering where they came up with it.
I don't know. George is what Vice and Roy.
Okay. Anyway, so Obi-Wan ends up getting captured.
Yeah, well, he sends a message back to Anakin, or records a message and sends it because he sees that Anakin's on Tatooine by this point. He's all mad about it. But he's out of range to send a live communication to the Jedi Temple. So he sends a recorded message and sends it to Anakin, who R2 picks it up. And but then he gets captured. And then
let's cut back to Annie.
Let's cut back to Anakin. So he's on Tatooine, like I said. And we go back. We see Watto again. He looks a little rough. I think the years have not been kind to him. But Anakin is looking for his mom because he's been having these bad dreams.
He said, "Where's me?
Where's me?" And he's like, "Well, I sold her. And I sold her to some guy named Lars. And believe it or not, he freed her and married her." And blah, blah, blah. So then they track down this Lars feller. And we meet
Uncle Owen.
Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, who are Anakin's step-siblings.
Uncle Owen?
Well, he's a step-brother. And then she's his girlfriend.
Sister-in-law.
Beru is Owen's girlfriend at this point. But anyway, so it turns out that his mom has been taken by the Tusken Raiders, by the Sand People. Lars says that 30 men went out after only 4 came back. And I guess it's implied that he lost his leg during that confrontation, I guess. And so then Anakin
gets all pissy.
And he goes and finds his mom. But I do kind of like this scene here in the Raider camp. If this movie was any better, a good movie, and if the actors were any good, I think the woman playing Shmi is a decent actress.
I like her.
But it's a kind of a moving scene where he goes in and he finds her tied up.
Now the way Hayden Christensen is giving these lines is not very good.
Yeah.
But it's
his
better acting in this movie.
She's like, "Now I am complete," and she's like, "You look so handsome," and she tries to say, "I love you," but then she dies.
And then he gets
super pissed.
Super pissed.
And he goes and starts slicing up these...
Just destroying Tusken Raiders.
And we have this interesting scene where we cut back to Yoda and Windu walks in and Yoda's like, he has tears in his eyes and he's like,
all sad.
young Skywalker is in pain. Terrible pain. Which I think it's kind of a neat concept that Yoda can feel like all the strong emotions coming from the Jedi across the universe, you know? Like he's interconnected with all them. Yeah. Oh, speaking of Across the Stars, let's talk about the score for a little bit. I think that the main theme written for this movie, Across the Stars, I really like it. I think it's good, but as a whole...
I like the score for this one. It's not as good as the first one.
As a whole, the score is kind of meh. It's most of the new stuff, other than Across the Stars, is not very good.
I do like that we have certain like callbacks to like the Duel of Fates. We get a couple callbacks.
There's a callback to the Duel of Fates. There's a couple of Imperial March moments.
But I mean, overall, this score is kind of lackluster.
I think it's a new one, like when they first show the clones that they play, where it's like, I can't hum it, but it's like, I don't know, it's pretty good. But overall, I think this is the worst score for any Star Wars film, like as a whole.
That's probably fair.
I think it's the least well done. I'm not saying it's bad. It's still, for as far as like movies go, it's still pretty good. But as far as Star Wars goes, it's pretty mediocre. But it's John Williams. I'm not gonna complain too much.
It's still good, but
anyway, back to Anakin. So he goes back with his mother's body to Lars's house, and they bury. This is where we first. I mean, of course, where Lars lives now is where Luke lives at the beginning of A New Hope. So that's kind of neat. They bury his mom, and he has a scene with Padme where he's like trying to fix something. He's like, "Life is so simple when you're fixing things," and he's like,
I couldn't save her.
It's all Obi-Wan's fault. He's holding me back.
He says something about him being jealous too, does he not?
Yeah, Obi-Wan's jealous because he's jealous. He's holding me back or something. And he's like, one day I'll become the most powerful Jedi ever.
And I was like, yeah, man.
Mm-hmm. He's like, I'll learn how to stop people from dying. No, not really. But, which is a big plot in the next one, Revenge of the Sith. Or not the next one we're watching. We're watching the Clone Wars movie next. But the
next episodic film.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Then we get a pretty intense but also poorly delivered couple lines where which you know it better by heart. I can't say it. The whole thing where he's like, I slaughtered them all.
Oh yeah, animals. I love it. He's like, I killed them. I killed them all. He's like, I killed them all. Like, no, not just the men, but the women and the children too. They're like animals. And I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them. Oh, yeah,
and
I was like, and then of course in the background the Imperial March is playing real slowly. Dun, 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 dun.
And you're like,
and then they like, before this, when he went out looking for his mother, like they had the shadows of him and Padme up against the house, and he kind of looked like Darth Vader's silhouette. It's kind of funny, but anyway. So let's cut back to Obi-Wan. We have this scene where Obi-Wan has been captured. He's in this little force field thing that has him spinning around like
constantly.
And Christopher Lee walks in. He's like,
Count Dooku.
We learned that Count Dooku was Qui-Gon's master before Qui-Gon was Obi-Wan's master. And basically he talks about how the Republic's been taken over by this Dark Lord and asks Obi-Wan to join him. And Obi-Wan's like, I'll never join you, Dooku. You know, and Count Dooku's just a jerk. And he's like, it may take some time to secure, it may be difficult to secure your release. Of course, he has no intention to release Obi-Wan. And so basically, so that message gets to Anakin and Obi-Wan or Anakin and Padme that Obi-Wan recorded, and they relay it back to the Jedi Council. Windu's like, you stay there on Tatooine. We'll deal with...
we'll take all the remaining Jedi. And
well, before that, he says that, and then they had the scene in the Senate chamber where Jar Jar, who I haven't talked about, I don't mind Jar Jar in this movie. He's
not really in it a whole lot.
He's got a much smaller role, but he does accidentally, give Palpatine what he wants here, because there's a scene in this...
He's not as bumbling and stupid in this movie, so that's okay.
Yeah, Senator Amidala left him as, in charge, as in her role as, Senator from Naboo. There's a scene in the throne room or whatever where... Palpatine's or the blue guy that helps Palpatine's like, I need if only someone would grant you emergency powers, and
more political commentary.
But who would have the courage to do that? And Palpatine's like, if only Senator Amidala was here, and Jar Jar's like, wait a second,
I can't.
I got an idea. I guess you could read into it that maybe Palpatine is manipulating Jar Jar through mind tricks to do this, but anyway.
But if you go back to that stupid Jar Jar theory that he's actually a Sith Lord, maybe he's always been wanting this to happen.
Yeah, no. But anyway, so Jar Jar makes a motion to grant him emergency powers. He's granted emergency
And everyone's
powers.
like, yes, okay.
And he's like, the first thing I'm going to do is create a grand army. So Windu and Yoda are listening, and they're like, okay. Windu's like, I'll take what Jedi we have left, and we will go and save Obi-Wan. And Yoda's like, okay, I'm going to go visit this army on Camino.
And then cut back to Padme and Anakin, and they're arguing, and Padme's like, well, I gotta help Obi-Wan, and Anakin's like, well, we can't, we gotta stay here, and then she starts flipping switches, and then Anakin just gives her this awkward look, and then he sits down, and they take off. Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
And then this is where our storylines finally converge again.
Our storylines do finally converge again, and we go. First of all, we have this scene. They land on Geonosis, and they go through these Geonosian tunnels. I like Geonosis. I like that the inhabitants there. They're like these really intelligent, basically insects, and they live in these catacombs, which is really explored even in more detail in the Clone Wars TV show. But they like live in these catacombs where they're like all stuck together like insects. I think this is all kind of cool. But we have this scene where they basically...
The droid factory.
A droid factory. I used to kind of like this scene, but then I watched Minority Report. And I don't know if you remember Minority Report, but there is a scene in a car factory, a futuristic car factory, that plays out nearly identical to how this plays out. I mean, like, some of it's like beat for beat. And it's executed way better. I don't know who copied off who because these movies came out in the same year.
Did they?
Yes.
Minority Report came out in 2000.
2.
Minority Report came out in 2000.
I thought it came out in 2002.
Minority Report came out in 2000.
Andrew, Google it. I think it came out in 2002. I'm pretty sure.
I got it. Oh, it did come out in 2002. I thought it came out in 2000.
Don't question my logic. Anyway, so these movies came out in the same year, so I don't know who read whose script first, but Spielberg or Lucasfilm copied off somebody. I'm going to say Lucas probably.
They're really good friends, so.
Spielberg. But anyway, the scene in Minority Report is executed much better because it's mostly practical sets, and the CGI, what little there is, looks way better. But in this one here in this movie goes on way too long, I think. But I mean, it's kind of interesting. Like, they're fighting Geonosians, and they're having these like robotic arms like swinging around and like trying to avoid like these giant presses and lava. But there is a scene that I hate. R2 flying. Let me tell you why I hate this. Because if R2 could fly in the original trilogy, that would have solved a lot of his problems in the original trilogy. So the idea that he can fly like now is dumb.
Maybe his rocket got taken off.
Yeah, it's dumb. But anyway,
George just didn't pay attention.
And while we're here, C-3PO gets his head knocked off.
And then put on a droid. And
his body has a droid head put on it, and his head is put on a droid body. It's all kind of stupid. I don't know. But,
it's dumb. He makes some stupid jokes.
Yeah, he makes some stupid lines that were supposed to be funny, but...
Oh, God.
He makes
a pretty stupid joke here in a little bit. Well, I'll say it here in a second when we get to that. But.
All right. But anyway, so Padme gets thrown into this barrel where lava's being dumped and transported.
It's molten metal.
Molten metal, whatever. I mean, I guess that makes more sense. But
Lava. Molten metal.
Molten metal's being dumped and transported. But R2 saves her at the last.
The
last
George
second.
got real clever with the camera tricks.
Yeah, he's like, it shows Natalie, and then it cuts to showing the little thing that's transporting the molten metal, like opening up into a barrel and pouring it. But it's actually not the same barrel. It's the next one. And then it actually opens up and it's about to pour molten metal into her barrel.
R2's over here.
R2 saves her at the very last second, dumps her out. He's kind of not even gentle. He just kind of has her barrel be dropped and she tumbles out. But and then Anakin, he gets his arm trapped in this thing, and one of the giant knives or whatever comes down and cuts his lightsaber in half, and Jango surrounds him with droids and takes him prisoner. And so blah blah blah. So then we finally can get these plot lines back together. We are all on Geonosis, about to be sacrificed to this very elaborate and contrived ritual stadium event thing.
Yes.
So
they're chained up to these pillars, and they have creatures coming at them.
And there's creatures coming at
Someone needs to sell some toys.
Someone needs to sell some toys. So that's what we're doing right here. And so They send these creatures after them. There's this prolonged scene where they avoid these things while they're also chained up. They all get free.
And then the Jedi show up.
Yeah, they get surrounded, and then the Jedi Mace Windu. It's just kind of cool when Mace Windu like walks out and like ignites his purple lightsaber. First time we've seen something other than red, green, or red.
Red, green, or red.
Red, green,
or blue.
Or blue. And he's like, and Count Dooku's like, brave of you, my friend, but you're gravely outnumbered. And he's like, I don't think so. And then all these Jedi start igniting. Well, wait. And anyway, so we have this fight. So what the fight as a whole is all right. This is what fans, I think, have always kind of wanted to see. This is kind of like a fan film in a way here at the end. It turns into a fan film because like there's an army of Jedi versus an army of robots. I don't like how, excuse my language, how the Jedi go down like a bunch, I'll clean my language, like a bunch of pansies. Like, I mean, I know there's like thousands of droids descending upon them and there's only like, I don't know,
maybe 15 tops.
Well, no, there's more at the beginning. There's like, I'd say there's probably, I don't know, like around 100 Jedi or so here. But they get slaughtered by these. I mean, like I said, I know there's a lot, but they're like the greatest warriors in the galaxy. They should be able to handle like any number of droids when there's this many of them. But they get slaughtered by these droids. And they get surrounded. By the end of it, there's only like 15 or 20 Jedi left. And Count Dooku is like, you fought valiantly. Worthy of recognition in the Jedi archives. But he's like, but Windu won't surrender, so he's going to kill them. And then Yoda
and the clone army show up.
I like the clones. I'll say that I like the clones in this movie.
The CGI on them is questionable sometimes.
Yeah, but the idea that they're cloned from Jango Fett, who's Boba's dad, is I think kind of neat. And they all look the same. And I don't mind the clones in this. Their gunships are really cool.
They are.
Like you pointed out, where they have these green lasers coming out the side.
They just slice through
things, and the rockets coming out the top, and they got green lasers.
They're sick.
They're pretty sick looking, and of course they blow all the droids in this arena. They leave R2 and C-3PO untouched. R2 during this battle. Oh wait, what were you gonna make a joke or something about?
C-3PO so R2 just shows up, all right, and
C-3PO has been both of his bodies have been shot down.
So his head is on this droid body, and R2 walks up or rolls up to it, I guess, and yanks his head off, and he makes the joke as R2 is dragging his head along to go to put his head back on his body. Oh, this is such a drag. And I was like, I hate you.
But anyway, so they're left alive, thankfully. But,
by themselves on this poor arena.
They apparently someone remembers them and picks them up, so it's okay. R2 probably sent out a stress beacon. But anyway, so then we have this, they continue on with this battle. They go and they have this big battle between the droids and the droid army and the clone army. And I kind of like these little like spider droids that the droids have, and these little things that are like on wheels shooting rockets. I mean, it's all kind of cool. The walkers that the clone army have.
There's just so much CGI going on in this scene. I mean, it's hard to miss. And at least it doesn't look terrible in this.
Well, it doesn't look terrible here because it's all CGI. You're not trying to meld them together, so it's all CGI. But anyway, so then Obi-Wan and Anakin's little clone gunship starts chasing down Dooku. Or Padme's in there too, but like they get shot, so she tumbles out. She tumbles out, and Anakin and Obi-Wan have this screaming match about whether they should go and save her.
Lower the ship. I have to save her.
Put the ship down, Anakin. I need you. It's like, I don't know.
He's like, no, lower the ship. I have to save her. He's like, clear your mind, Anakin.
But anyway, but the poor gunship has to slow down to let Anakin and Obi-Wan jump off, and then it gets blown up by the ship's chasing it. And I'm like, dang, all those clones died just to get Anakin and Obi-Wan there. But anyway, so then we had this fight with Dooku. Now, I like Christopher Lee as Count Dooku. Don't get me wrong. I love Christopher Lee. I think he's pretty menacing as Count Dooku. The drawback to having someone as old as Christopher Lee play Count Dooku is that he can't do a lot of stunts and choreography. This lightsaber fight here suffers greatly because they're trying to make Dooku out to be like this badass, but he can't do a lot of quick choreography. So, like,
they're moving around kind of slow.
Yeah, they're moving around.
He's just moving his arm really fast.
Because we just watched the Phantom Menace, where like Ewan McGregor was like him and Ray Park were just like going at it,
doing flips and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
flips and stuff, and like swinging like all their might at each other, and then like. this scene, like, Anakin's, like, kind of taken out of the picture because he gets electrocuted because he gets too eager to take on Dooku. So Obi-Wan and Dooku have this, like, kind of boring fight, and Obi-Wan just gets, like, totally goes out like a pansy. And, like, then Anakin, like, comes in and saves him, and then Anakin, like, gets 2 sabers. One of them, his green one gets cut, and then we have, like, their fight is, like, really poorly executed to hide the fact that Christopher Lee couldn't do a lot of stunts.
Yeah, some of it's, like, swinging around.
This is, like, basically like a light
red on their face.
Yeah, red and blue light show across their faces, like, and like any of the quick movements are body doubles or CGI of Christopher Lee. It's kind of awkward how it's all executed. But then, after Anakin gets his arm chopped off,
because a Skywalker has to lose an arm or a hand or something in the second film.
Yoda walks in, and I think this is probably the only scene, like, back when this movie first came out, that ever got a cheer was when Yoda pulled out his lightsaber for the first time.
He doesn't pull it out. No, he opens up his robe and then uses his other hand with the Force to yank it out from the other side of his body. And
it's pretty cool.
And I'm like, oh yeah, what a sad thing.
I know a lot of people complain about how Yoda just, like, does a lot of flippy jumps and, like, but I kind of think
Don't you talk about Yoda.
That's how I would imagine someone small, like Yoda's stature, would fight. Would just be, like, jumping around everywhere, like, slicing.
Using his little stature to his advantage.
It's kind of cool how he just, like, drops his cane and, like, then he's, like, jumping around. Like, he's struggling to walk, but then he, like, drops his cane and he's doing all these flippy jumps.
He's using the Force.
Yeah, but anyway, so Dooku, he's all very confident, but I guess he realizes, okay, I can't beat him. So then he, like, crushes the base of this pillar to, like, fall on Anakin and Obi-Wan, and Yoda has to get distracted, to keep him from getting crushed. And
Dooku runs off.
Then Dooku runs off, and so anyway, they're saved. Oh, I forgot to mention during the Battle of Geonosis, Windu chops off Jango Fett's head.
Yes.
And
little Boba goes and picks up his father's severed head still in the helmet.
Yeah. So anyway, all this happens. So the movie's finally winding down. Thank God.
It's a long 2.5 hours almost.
It's about 2 hours and 20 minutes. Yeah. Almost exactly. So and then so we go back to Coruscant. Obi-Wan and Windu and Yoda are in the Jedi Council room, and
Anakin's nowhere to be seen. I wonder where he is.
Obi-Wan. Well, I like the line where Obi-Wan's like, I can't have to admit, if it wasn't for the clones, it would not have been a victory. And Yoda's like, victory, Master Obi-Wan. What is that exactly? Does he say? He's like, there is no victory. The shroud of the dark side has fallen. Begun. The Clone War has. And then we cut to the scene with the clones loading up in their transport ships, and the Imperial March is blaring, and the Supreme Chancellor Palpatine and Senator Organa and some of the other people, major big wigs, are watching all this go down. And then the final scene, we go to Naboo, where Anakin and Obi-Wan, Anakin and Padme are having a secret wedding with C-3PO and R2-D2 as their witnesses, just so we know that C-3PO and R2-D2 weren't left behind on Geonosis. And they kiss, and then it goes into the classic written, produced, and directed by George Lucas. But anyway, so I guess we'll go ahead and get into our final thoughts of this movie. This is my least favorite of the prequel trilogy. I'll rank the Star Wars films once we get done with this whole big shebang, but I'll go ahead and say this is definitely my least favorite of the prequel trilogy. I'll have to compare it with my reaction to watching The Last Jedi and see what I think. But it's boring. I mean, like you said, nothing for the first hour or 45 or so. There's nothing on screen that excites me.
Of a 2 hour and 20 minute movie.
Of a 2 hour and 20 minute movie. Nothing on screen excites me. Like, I don't really care about any of this stuff happening.
Like, there are small interjections of some things in that hour 45 that you can be like, okay, that was alright. Which is like the Jango Fett thing.
Yeah, the Jango Fett and Obi-Wan fight. That was pretty neat.
And then Anakin slaughtering a bunch of Tusken Raiders.
Yeah, that's about it. But other than that, yeah, it's just... They have a couple of more action scenes, but like I don't really care for the chase scene at the beginning through the Coruscant. I don't know. I just don't really care about all this stuff.
Probably because it was just so long.
And yeah, because it went on forever. And the one-liners Obi-Wan and Anakin were dropping were bad.
God almighty.
And
George Lucas should have been fired from ever writing screenplays after this.
Well, there was no one to fire him on this movie. That's the problem. But Wow, yeah, it's just I don't really care for it. So, I mean, I don't know. Like there are things like I talked about that are redeemable about it. I like some of the characters. I like how the clones are introduced. I think some of the worlds are nicely designed. I think Ewan McGregor is still good as Obi-Wan, but overall, it's just not that great. So, let me think. What do I want to give it? This is going to be a low score. This hurts me. This truly. So so I guess if I have to give it a star ranking, I'm going to give it 2.5 CGI Yodas out of 5.
Yeah, man, I'm pretty much on the same page. This one is the worst of the prequels. In my personal opinion, which I haven't seen the Clone Wars in forever, we are going to talk about that one.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah.
Next, I don't know. Include, I guess if we're just saying the episodic films,
Yeah,
this in my opinion is the worst episodic film. I don't hate The Last Jedi as much as Aaron does, which you'll hear his opinions on that in November.
Yeah.
But as far as the episodic films go, this is the worst one. It's got, I think personally, the worst effects in the entire franchise. It's got definitely the worst screenplay and script in the entire freaking franchise. It's got some of the worst acting in the franchise. Overall, it's just not a very good movie. It's boring for, like we've both said, like the first hour 45, pretty much nothing happens. And then after that, I mean, it's somewhat entertaining. After that first hour 45, it's entertaining to a degree. It's still not great, but it is what it is. If I got to give it a score, I'm gonna give it 2.5 cringy lines of dialogue out of 5 out of a bajillion in this movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, anyway, that pretty much concludes our episode today. Join us next month for episode
3 of our Star Wars Look Back. Which
the Clone Wars movie.
The Clone Wars movie, which is going to be episode 3 of our Star Wars Look Back.
Part 3 of it. We'll say part 3.
Part 3, yeah. We'll go part 3.
Because episode 3 could be misleading.
Yeah.
Part 3 of our Star Wars Look Back. We will be reviewing the Clone Wars film. It is on Netflix if you want to watch it for free. Except for your Netflix subscription, of course. So, but it's hard to find that thing on DVD now.
Yeah, it is.
We were looking like $50 to
yeah, like
DVD
$50 on like Amazon or eBay or something like that. $50 for a DVD copy.
Lucasfilm tries to forget that thing ever existed.
I don't blame him. It was pretty bad as far as I remember.
Yeah. So I went to the theater and saw it. I don't know if you did or not.
I did not.
Yeah, I mean, oof. Although the TV show that follows it is actually pretty good. I'll say that. I'll talk more about that though next time around. Next week we have 2 movies coming out. We have
the Lego Movie Part 2, followed by Cold Pursuit, which is getting pretty decent reviews
right
now.
Getting pretty good reviews, both of the films. So we might actually get to see 2 good movies next week. I haven't seen a good. Well, what are the 3 I've seen?
Well, we saw Replicas. Mm-hmm. At the beginning of the year, which was pretty bad. We saw Glass, which was...
Glass was alright.
Alright, and then we saw Serenity.
Serenity, which was...
god-awful.
God-awful. So maybe I'll get to watch a good movie finally.
For the first time in the year.
Maybe a couple good movies this weekend. I will enjoy Cold Pursuit, whether it's good or not.
Whether it's good or not, yeah. It's Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
And then the Lego movie's supposed to be good.
Yeah, it'll be just rapid-fire jokes like all the others. I'm sure I'll get some entertainment out of it, if nothing else.
But yeah, we got some fun stuff coming up.
Yep. So I don't remember after that, so I'm not going to talk about what we have coming up after that. But anyway, also don't forget to check out our the first part of our Star Wars Look Back in the Phantom Menace. Go back and look at we reviewed all 3 of Shyamalan's superhero trilogy films. Unbreakable, Split and Glass. And we also made like we said last week, we came out with our Serenity review. If you want to hear what a bad movie
movie sounds
like,
you want to trash a movie,
yeah, you can do that.
It's that one.
We didn't trash this movie as good as we could have. I feel like
it's not garbage.
It's not.
Serenity is way worse.
It's not Serenity bad. So, but anyway, I think that's about it. Do you have anything else to add?
I'm just gonna plug those social medias. We are up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're at DNA Film Wars, all lowercase, no space, on all those platforms. So give us a like or a follow, and make sure you tell your friends about us if you enjoy us.
Yeah, if you have any specific questions and or comments, you can always contact us at dnafilmwars@gmail.com. We are up on all major podcatching services.
If you can't find us on one of those podcatching services, or you choose not to listen to one of those, we're up on YouTube, which I guess the last time we did one of these videos is like, if you know that we're up on YouTube, you're probably listening to one of those. But
Yeah.
we're up on YouTube.
Yeah. So, I guess as always, I'm Aaron.
I'm Dylan. We'll catch you in the next one.
A full-scale war since the formation of the Republic.
You must join me, Obi-Wan, and together we will destroy the Sith.
The dark side clouds everything. In grave danger you are. Begun this Clone War has.